The other day I did a short, light-hearted post about my reflection in the window, and everybody seemed to pick up on the fact of the cardie I was wearing, and it got great admiration. So I thought I would come back and dwell on it in a post of its own today. The cardie, the front, the collar and the back are all worked in one piece. The sleeves are a later addition. It is one of my own out of my head ideas. Now, to begin with, you work the back section, and for that you need somebody to take a measurement from the nape of your neck across to just inside your shoulders on each side. So you decide when they're measuring you where you want that measurement to be. You then work from the measurement at the nape of the neck down to where you want the body to end. So you end up with a shape similar to this, a rectangle. When you have your measurement across and down, you subtract an inch from that one and an inch from that. Why? Because when you have your rectangle worked, the body added, all the rest, and you're wearing it, the weight of the skirt will pull this down and stretch it. When you move your arms, this will stretch. And with eventual wear, it'll become saggy. And you do not want to end up with a whole bulk of bundle of saggy fabric here on your back. That's why you make it smaller. In my case, this is recycled wool. It's very soft and it would stretch with wear very easily. So I worked my back section 2 balls of wool at a time. So that is a thick blanket for my back. I'm a cold creature. Anybody who does not carry weight feels the cold. There's no extra insulation. So I like to wear my cardie with my collar, my soft collar, up around the back of my neck for warmth. The thick back also adds warmth to my back. And then I have the looser skirt. You don't need the weight down in the skirt of the jacket. The back, the skirt and the front, the collar, are all worked in one section, and then the sleeves are added in. So I used a treble crochet stitch, and when I got my first row worked, I had my treble done, and I went into, let me just explain it to you here. Yeah. You end up with your row done, something like this, and the top of it is like a chain stitch. Normally when you're working a row, you go in through the top 2 loops, like that, and you work your treble on it. I didn't. I went through the back loop only, and I worked my treble into the back loop and worked my treble into the back loop, worked my treble all the way across. Doing that gives you the effect of a ridge, and because this section is worked front and then back, you're turning your fabric all the time. I did the same every row. So one row you had the ridge, the next row you had a hollow, because the ridge is on the other side of the fabric. So it was a ridge, a hollow, a ridge, a hollow, a ridge, a hollow, and so on for your rectangle. When you got your rectangle finished, you needed to know, you had your rows here and your length, and you needed to know how many stitches you wanted to form the hole for the arm. And the easiest way to do that was to fold up your work, right? Fold it up exactly, making a point at the corner and folding it over. Starting there, you counted the stitches across, and that's the number of chain you need to work to take you down to this length, leaving the hole from which your sleeve will eventually come, the hole for your arm to go through. So say, for instance, it's 32 stitches. You work 32 chain, and you come down here and you join your long chain in here with the slip stitch. You work a single crochet line across the bottom. You work a chain of 32 stitches up to the top. Again, you join it with a slip stitch, and you work double crochet across here to even the whole thing up. And you're left with a hanging loose chain and a loose chain here. When you get back to this end, you start your working around. You do a shell pattern into the corner and a shell pattern into every second stitch on the way down, but it's not into that edge you're working, it's into the chain that you've just made. And when you get here, you do a shell stitch into the corner and a shell stitch every second stitch along the end, a shell stitch in the corner, and a shell stitch in every second one going up along the chain at the side. And you work a shell stitch into the corner and you work back. Now, if your first row of the shells are, say, 2 treble, 2 chain and another 2 treble all into the same stitch, then you do that all the way around. When you come to the next row, you can increase it, or you can do another row like that and then increase it to 3 treble, 2 chain, 3 treble into each space as you go along here. You can work so far and increase the size of the needle, and that makes your shells bigger. Now what you need to do then is decide how long you want this collar section to be. And being a jacket with no sleeves in it and having 2 holes and it being crochet work, it's very easy to slip it onto your body and see if this is the right height for you, the right size for you, before continuing on at the end. You can leave the end at that level if you want to, but you end up with great fullness here. I added length, which pulled it down. Now it's been worn quite a few times and washed quite a few times, but it also pulls down and this levels out, and your freeness and your extra bulk is at the bottom. It gives you more room for a swing and a movement. The neckline can be worn in several ways. I bought these hair slides in a 50p shop. There were 2 in a pack. One was plain and the other had a bit of decoration on. And they're ideal because you can just connect it in and come up through a hole into the stitches and it stays there. It doesn't move. I've tried it, I've worn it. As soon as this video is over, that will be going on me again, because that's what's kept the life in me. It's cozy and warm where I need the heat. I've lengthened the skirt so it comes down below my hip or to my hip and keeps my hip warm. The soft collar keeps my neck warm, and the double back keeps my back warm. You can wear it that way as I have, or you can wear it like this, further back on the shoulders. Like so. And a button or a smaller brooch would work if that's the way you prefer to wear it. I'm just catching in the t-shirt. I put a polo neck on just to show you better how it looks. And that's the way you can wear it if you like more air around your neck. And wearing it that way makes this more of a cape effect. The other thing I did with the body was when I decided where I wanted my neckline, sorry, the fire moved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do 5 here for demonstration purposes, okay? When I decided the size I wanted for my neck and how I wanted to sit for me, I came down, I worked my sleeves. The sleeves I did in the round. I picked up my stitches all the way round, from my chain and from my back, and then from the front. You were left with the hole at this stage. So I picked up my stitches all the way around and I worked them in the round. And in doing so, it meant you had the same surface facing you all the time. I wasn't working back to front like I did at the back. Again, I worked in trebles, and this time I worked from the body down. So each row, when I went into the top of the stitch, I went into the back of it again. And each row was the same. So that gave it a slightly different look to the back. It was also worked, as was this part of the body, you know, the shell part of the body was all worked in a single yarn, and the sleeves also. So that gave the sleeve and the back a slightly different look. You don't need a big, thick, bulky sleeve on you if you're going to wear something around the house. And since this was recycled wool, that's what I wanted to do with it. Now, when I decided on my length, I went and I picked out where I thought my waist was, or roughly about where the waist was. And I started up and I worked a row of chain around until I came to the same place on the other side. I ended off, went back to the front and picked up again, started a shell stitch here and did a row to one before where I was before, ended off, went back and started again, did a row and ended off one below that. That's the previous row, so that was one below. And I did that going skipping back one group of shells each time, and until I had added 9 rows, and that gave me the longer skirt at the back. It's very comfortable. I live in it. The short sleeves, you know, 3/4 sleeves are grand for working in the house. Normally I have something like this or my light jumper on inside because I like a sleeve that comes down. If I'm working, I'll pull that up. That will stay, but that's not warm enough for me for working around during the day. And I'll put this on, clip it on, and it stays, it never moves. So what else have I forgotten? I don't think so. I don't think I've anything else to tell you about it. The sleeves I'm not entirely happy with, and I'm doing another one at the moment in a different colourway, and I'm hoping to solve my problem as I see it with the sleeves. What do you think? Do you think you'll have a go? It's not too difficult.